Some essentials of effective plan execution. 1. Realistic objectives and plans. 1. If plans and plan objectives are themselves not realistic, i.e., feasible implementation, it will not be possible to execute them effectively. 1. The people concerned with implementation may look at it indifferently and will do nothing to implement it. 1. Good government. 1. By good government is meant a government which is good in terms of the law, order and stability it maintains, the social and economic justice it dispenses, the essential services it provides, the wisdom of the policies it adopts, the constructiveness of the programs it pursues, the honesty and responsibility it embodies, the positive efforts it makes, and the resolution it displays. 1. Insecurity, disorder, unpredictability, favoritism, injustice, cruelty, irresponsibility, waste, indecisiveness, corruption, indifference, these and other characteristics of weak and poor governments are all inimical, in one way or another, to constructive cooperative, social life and development programs. 1. Good leadership. 1. Vision combined with practicality, integrity, dedication, determination and courage, these are the qualities most needed, yet how rare they are individually and even more so in combination. 1. The task which faced the leaders challenged national leaders in the past. 1. Economic growth has simply occurred, now it must be planned, stimulated, guided and hastened, in addition to all other and more normal leadership tasks. If leaders in the developing countries inevitably lack the experience needed, they should at the very least be free of illusion and prejudice, sensitive to the basic choices which be made and open to advice from competent advisors and staff, whether foreign or indigenous, so that they may better cope with the responsibilities history has entrusted upon them. They must be dedicated to development objectives and determined to undertake and follow through on the course of action needed to realize them. They should appreciate that some error is unavoidable, that dynamic action, marked by a certain degree of error, is preferable to inaction and stagnation, and that a prime objective of development administration should be able to learn the most from the fewest number of errors. 1. The need of a responsible political opposition. 1. Many less developed countries are ruled by one-party government, to which virtually no responsible and critical political opposition exists. 1. Whether such government has come to power in consequence of a successful fight for national independence with the support of the entire electorate, or whether it is military or other dictatorship which has usurped power by force, the absence of a responsible critical opposition constituted danger to good government and to effective plan execution. 1. Power without accountability is irresponsible power, it inevitably corrupts. 1. In the absence of real responsibility and accountability, graft and nepotism flourish, perspective is lost. Weaknesses subvert the public administration. 1. Efficient public administration. 1. Developing countries which have only recently won their independence inherit systems of public organization and administration which, because they were designed to permit complete control to be exercised by a small group of foreign officials, are far too centralized. 1. Even in countries long independent, the public administration, although it may be suited to the fulfillment of routine governmental tasks like collection, law, order and security, and the administration of justice, is not likely to be appropriate or adequate to the many new responsibilities involved in carrying out a large-scale economic development effort. Even in such cases, therefore, new organizations will have to be created, authority will have to be more liberally delegated, and procedures and regulations will have to be amended so as to permit needed decisions and actions to be taken in time. The other important aspect of efficient public administration is a competent based on merit as well as seniority, reasonably adequate working conditions, tools and aids, freedom from undue political interference, high standards and prerequisites to such a service. If pay scale do not permit public employees to live decently and in some appropriate relation to their status, it is doubtful whether any program aimed at that satisfactory standards of performance and integrity in the public administration can succeed. 1. Honesty in government. 1. When government pay scale are inadequate, graft and corruption are bound to be widespread, especially at the lower levels of government. 1. Here corruption becomes a cost of doing business with the government, whether this involves delivery of the mail police protection, clearance through customs, garbage removal, access to a given official, the booking of freight for shipment or any other service to effect, an informal private and supplementary system of taxation which increase costs and defers growth in the private sector. 1. In a sense, it inflicts the entire administrative apparatus of government with a massive dose of constipation which can be relieved only by the T-money laxative. Corruption will, of course, also increase the cost of development projects. When officials at higher levels of government are involved, the effect may be much worse than this. If corruption subverts the decision-making process, it will lead to decisions in favor of the uneconomic projects, or in favor of uneconomic designs or locations for projects which would otherwise be economical. The losses due to such decisions will be far more serious than those involved in higher costs alone. Worse than the effects, however, is that of governmental corruption on society's morale. Corruption is like a social cancer which eats away at the vitals of a nation. When knowledge of government corruption is widespread, it will be impossible for the leadership to command and respect for its plans and judgment to enlist the support of the nation for the development program or to ask the nation to make the efforts and sacrifices which the program demands. 1. Reliable and timely accounting in the public enterprise. 1. Another essential, often not fully appreciated, is reliable and timely accounting in the public enterprises. 1. In the absence of such accounting, a society has no way of measuring whether it is getting back from its ventures as much as it is putting into them. 1. Whether management is efficient, whether pricing and other policies are appropriate, and so on. 1. When the public sector is large, its accounts are in the deplorable state, good planning, good programming and good budgeting will be very difficult to achieve. A certain symbolic value also attached to the accounting principle. Until a government recognizes the importance of reliable and timely profit and loss statements, balance sheets and cost accounting, which are essential to rational resources allocation, it can scarcely be said to be prepared to seek economic development, cope with development problems or make the kinds of decisions needed to achieve development. 1. Dynamic participation by the private sector. 1. If private individuals and firms permitted and encouraged to participate in the development efforts to maximum extent of which they are capable, the government will be better able to concentrate in effective execution of those aspects of the development programs which only government can undertake. 1. Administration, technical, managerial, financial and other scarce satisfactory plan execution in the public sector will be correspondingly enhanced. 1. The argument for maximum participation by the private sector is thus practical, not an ideological argument. Vital also to effective plan execution, the following criterion must be taken into consideration. 1. Realization of just what is involved in the plan, how broad the plan execution really is, whether it involves a project, sector plan and program, policy, public service and administrative, etc. 1. Implementation of the financial plan. 1. The plan calls for modernization of resources, either domestic or foreign. 1. These resources must be mobilized or the plan will bog down. 1. For the private sector, implementation must be induced and assured generally by indirect means such as incentives and aids. 1. Flexibility in adapting and modifying the plan, as required by experience and charging circumstances and realistic annual programming and budgeting. 1. Effective supervision and coordination. This is perhaps the most important of them all. 1. Somewhere on top there must be an alternate authority whose responsibility is to see that the various tasks are properly assigned, that the persons and agencies implementing the various program elements is kept in reasonable balance, and that, in general, plan execution is proceeding satisfactorily. 1. If this supervision and coordination is itself weak and inadequate, the plan as a whole is bound to suffer.